CARICOM member states begin to reopen amid strict safety protocols.
CARICOM Election Observation Mission lauds Suriname's conduct of credible elections within the COVID-19 environment.
And Jamaica joins Canada and the United Nations in forging the way forward for sustainable development post-COVID-19. We have these and other stories in this edition of the CARICOM NewsTime. I'm Tosanki English Francis.
And I am Michelle Nurse. Thanks for joining us. As CARICOM member states negotiate the cautious return to some semblance of normalcy, Antigua and Barbuda and St. Lucia welcomed their first international flights in over 2 months on Thursday, the 4th of June. Travelers to St. Lucia need to present a negative COVID-19 test and undergo mandatory quarantine at a government institution.
Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados and chair of CARICOM says reopening of the regional economy is being driven by safety protocols. In a recent interview with BBC's Matru Amrolewala, Prime Minister Mia Mottley says CARICOM wants to be satisfied that workers, ordinary citizens and visitors will be safe once states reopen their shores to tourists.
We're trying to balance lives and livelihoods like everywhere else. I listened to your reports earlier about Europe. We're in deep conversations with each other on a common public health protocol within the region. We're also having discussions with the airlines and the cruise industry. But we're not going to be driven by a date. We're going to be driven by a satisfaction that we have safe protocols that keep our workers safe, that keep our people safe, that keep our visitors safe. Airlines have been doing a reasonably good job in trying to ensure that the planes can be kept sanitized. But the big issue is testing, and testing before people get on the planes, or testing when people arrive. Quite frankly, it's more practical before people leave, and we need access to rapid tests.
In Jamaica, the Ministers of Tourism and Health have endorsed a comprehensive document detailing robust protocols to protect stakeholders in the tourism industry as it prepares for the restart of operations and open airports to international flights on the 15th of June.
Workers in Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago returned to their physical places of work as of the 1st of June. However, Prime Minister Andrew Holness of Jamaica says he will reimpose tighter restrictions if there is a spike of coronavirus transmissions.
If persons follow the rules, are faithful and consistent in doing so, then we can gradually relax some of the restrictions. We're not relaxing any of the standard infection prevention and control protocols. And as such, measures such as wearing masks, sanitizing or hand washing and cleaning surfaces, and practicing social distancing, those measures which have served us well, we must continue to ensure that these measures are observed faithfully to control the spread of the disease.
Trinidad and Tobago's resumption of almost all economic activity came 1 week ahead of the third phase of reopening.
If our country is recognized as number one in managing this affair, it is not the climate, it is not the weather, it is the advance of our professional staff, the advice of that professional body of staff, and the actions taken by the government and people of Trinidad and Tobago in response to a virus which was unknown to the human race until late 2019. We are very grateful to those countries that assisted us. China, the United Kingdom, the United States, and our Caribbean colleagues who cooperate with us in CAFA. We want to single out the staff of CAFA, which is located here in Trinidad and Tobago, who provided us with absolutely exquisite professional help and guided the heads of government and other decision makers in the Caribbean. We have been well served.
Canada, Jamaica, and the United Nations convened a high-level discussion to join forces with governments and international organizations on financing solutions to the COVID-19 health and development challenges for everyone. The event discussed 6 pressing issues, including the need to expand liquidity in the global economy and maintain financial stability to safeguard development gains and strengthen the recovery for the benefit of current and future generations. It also discussed the need to address debt vulnerabilities for all developing countries that request support to free fiscal resources to save lives and livelihoods for billions around the world. Here are some highlights of that important discussion.
Today, I'm encouraged to see 50 heads of state and government, the leaders of the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the Institute for International Finance, the OECD, the Special Envoys of the United Nations and the African Union and others, the largest gathering of leaders since the pandemic began, coming together around joint solutions to the crisis. Working groups will now consider 6 areas for urgent action, with the first reporting to a ministerial meeting in the end of July. First, finding ways to enhance global liquidity so that developing countries have the resources they need to fight the pandemic. Second, preventing debt crises in all countries at risk, including middle-income countries. Such crises risk undermining both the COVID-19 response and sustainable development for years to come.
The next stage of this process involves the work that will be undertaken by the 6 thematic working groups that have been established. These groups will comprise representatives of government, international financial institutions, and other key actors. Their mandates will be to build on the ideas that emerged from today's discussions, with a view to developing concrete solutions to address the crisis.
We cannot forget about the most vulnerable, whether that's people far away who are struggling or people in the Caribbean who've been among the hardest hit. The global pandemic is an unprecedented challenge for our modern world, but it's also a unique opportunity to adjust our international institutions so that they are more fit for purpose.
Chair of CARICOM, the Honorable Mayor Motley of Barbados, says as the world tries to find solutions to the crises brought about by the coronavirus pandemic, Africa and the Caribbean must work together to advocate for a fairer, more equitable multilateral system that considers the most vulnerable. Speaking to the people of Africa on the occasion of the 63rd observance of Africa Day on the 25th of May, Prime Minister Motley says the 2 parties have demonstrated the political will to advance meaningful dialogues and initiatives to the benefit of both sides.
Our heads of government agreed in principle last July to a proposal from our colleague Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Mr. Ralph Gonsalves, for the establishment of a permanent Africa-Brazil-Caribbean Diasporic Commission. We are working, therefore, to give life to that. Similarly, last November, in an effort to advance our relations, I officiated at the opening of a CARICOM office in Nairobi, Kenya. Unfortunately, due to the current global pandemic, the scheduled summit between CARICOM and the African Union that was to have happened in June next month has been postponed. We look forward to that historic event taking place at the earliest possible opportunity, for neither COVID nor history shall separate us from the united front that we can take for the benefit of our peoples.
The chair of CARICOM and other CARICOM heads of government participated in the first ever inter-sessional summit of the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific Countries on transcending the coronavirus pandemic on Wednesday the 3rd of June. We will bring you the details of that summit in our next episode.
The CARICOM Election Observation Mission to Suriname has congratulated the country's conduct of its elections on the 25th of May in the COVID-19 environment. In her departure report, Head of Mission Ms. Dora James said the election was free, fair, transparent, and credible. She said the mission didn't see or experience evidence of electoral fraud, but it has taken note of the concerns expressed. The mission pledged to scrutinize the electoral process for any evidence that would substantiate those concerns. Ms. James lauded Suriname's electoral system as fundamentally sound. Preliminary results have Suriname's United Reform Party ahead of the National Democratic Party by 4 seats. The CARICOM Election Observation Mission has urged all entities involved to complete the few outstanding tabulations of votes to conclude the electoral process efficiently and speedily. The COVID-19 pandemic is catapulting the region into the future as far as the jobs landscape is concerned, regional business leader and author Mr. Wayne Chen says. Mr. Chen headlined the second CARICOM Digital Dialogue hosted by the CARICOM Girls in ICT Partnership on the 27th of May. It was held via the Zoom and Facebook platforms and focused on jobs, work, and opportunities in the post-COVID-19 Caribbean. The businessman says COVID-19 has sharpened the region's focus on the digital economy and digital societies. He singles out agriculture, the global services sector, the creative industries, and the green and blue economies as leaders in creating new jobs, building economic resilience, and diversification from the reliance on tourism and other traditional sectors.
It speaks to a discussion we have had for a very, very, very long time, and that is building economic resilience and by diversifying our economies and by moving into activities that are sustainable and sustainable environmentally, economically, and socially. One of the things that has been highlighted, and I use agriculture as an example, one of the things that has been highlighted during the pandemic is our reliance on imported food. And we got a taste of the disruption of the global supply networks and what could happen in the future if they were further disrupted based on our reliance, or I would like to say over-reliance on imported food. So one of the areas I'll touch on today as we discuss jobs in the future is jobs in agriculture. I know the agricultural capacity varies markedly from country to country, island to island. But here is where a regional approach will become very, very important, where countries with high agricultural potential should be looking at maximizing that potential, and where countries that might think they have little potential look at other areas to build this sector.
You can find a recording of the full discussion on our YouTube channel or at today.caricom.org.
CARICOM is mourning the death of international public servant Mr. Miles Stoby. Guyanese by birth, Miles Stoby died on the 19th of May in Oman. The former Assistant Secretary General at the United Nations played key roles in coordinating both the 1992 Rio and the Millennium Summits that saw world leaders setting time-bound targets that later became known as the Millennium Development Goals. The CARICOM Secretariat says perhaps the role that gave him the most satisfaction as a Caribbean man was his coordination of the first UN Conference on Sustainable Developments of Small Island Developing States hosted in Barbados in 1994.
The Caribbean community has pledged its support to Guyana as the country celebrated its 54th independence anniversary on the 26th of May. In a congratulatory message, CARICOM Secretary General Ambassador Erwin LaRocque said the people of Guyana should be proud of this milestone in their history.
Don't forget you can visit the CARICOM news site at today.caricom.org or the CARICOM website at caricom.org for the details of these and other stories.
Like us on Facebook, Follow us on Twitter and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.